Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's session, which is all about digital inclusion and AI. If you don't know who I am, I'm Abigail Hawkins of Sensible SENCO, and welcome to our SENCO Diet, which is Delivering Inclusive Education Toolkit. This is a chef special, so it is free for anybody to observe, watch, take what you want from it. Picky eaters, choose your bits that you want, and it will be broadcast onto Facebook and also into YouTube as well, so you can catch up and watch that recording if you'd like to. Of course, if you want to watch back any of our other recordings, you could always become a Sensible SENCO member, and you can watch our whole back library of them, plus all of our future ones as well, and access all the resources that go with this. Shall we jump into tonight's session? It is chucking it down with rain outside and a really miserable day today, so I need to cheer myself up with something. Let's press this button and see what we've got. There we go. Digital inclusion and AI, like I said, the chef's special for September. Anybody who knows me knows I am pretty passionate about the use of education technology to support students. I don't think it always means a laptop or anything like that. There are plenty of EdTech resources that we can use that are not PC based, and there are low-tech, mid-tech and high-tech solutions. I'm also a firm believer that what we're using for students we can also use to support ourselves as well. So sometimes when we look at these tools, I'm thinking, oh, I could use that. I know how I can use that to make my life a little bit easier. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through these. What I really want to cover in today's session, though, is this idea around students' access to these things, because it isn't just about including our students. Yeah, it's great, give them a laptop, but if they can't use it, what's the point? So let's have a bit of a dive into those things. Setting the table then, because we have this wonderful food theme going on. Why does digital inclusion matter? Well, it's not just about giving them the technology, it's about making sure that every learner can participate in whatever the activity is that we have going on. And for some students, that might mean giving them a coloured overlay, which is obviously not digital technology, but it may be a piece of equipment, software, anything, a resource that helps them to access that learning. For a visually impaired student, we might be using a ball in PE that has a bell inside it. It's not digital, but we are using something different. And digital inclusion is important for us because we don't have enough humans in schools, otherwise known as teaching assistants, to support us with being that extra human there to give students that reading support or spelling support or whatever else it is they need, that digital inclusion actually allows us to fulfill. And if you can hear that noise, it is the rain splattering down on the roof, hopefully not through the roof. When we use it properly, it really can transform the learning for our students. So we've got a barrier and we turn it into a bridge. And to be honest, it isn't optional anymore. I could have sat here and done this 15 years ago, and it was kind of like, yeah, okay, they'll be all right, they'll learn how to use it eventually. But to be perfectly honest, we can't do that anymore, because the majority of jobs that we do, the majority of work that our children are going to go into, will require them to use some form of digital technology. Even if it's only checking their pay slips, they need to be able to know how to use it. They need to know how to set up a new gas bill, electric bill, whatever they're sorting out within their home, which might be in 30 years' time, but they're going to use digital technology to do it, because there ain't going to be a human on the end of the phone answering it to do it for them. So we really do need to set our students up for the future using digital technology and including digital inclusion within that. So what does it actually mean? So I've got three kind of buzzwords sitting on that page. I've got access, equity and belonging. So access is ensuring that all the pupils that need it can appropriately access the digital tools at the right time, regardless of their ability, their background or their circumstance. I'll talk about digital poverty a little bit later on, but it's ensuring that everybody has actually got access to those things. We've got equity. So providing differentiated, not a swear word, digital support that supports the individual needs rather than a one-size-fits-all. And the one that I use here as the example is the difference between using a computer-based software such as Docs Plus and using a physical item such as an iris scanning pen. So the physical item is actually really good if you just need to be able to scan the odd word occasionally in your normal copy of Shakespeare or whatever it is you have in front of you to help you read individual words. It's amazing for that. Online software is better if you need it to read great big chunks of text, great big swathes of text, or if you need to do more with it. So it's not one size fits all. It's not, oh, we're going to get this product and every student has to use this product. It's about finding what is best for that student. We all have smart technology. I've got an iPhone. There's not many children or adults that use telephones now that are not smartphones. But when you go onto one of those and we're typing our messages, whether it's one thumb or a finger or whatever, you will notice some people use the on-screen keyboard and they are tap, 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 tap with one finger like this. Some people will open it up and turn their keyboard this way around. So they've actually got not a full-size keyboard, obviously, but a slightly bigger keyboard. And they might even be putting two hands together like a little mouse trying to type on it. And some people, like me, have got one finger and they swipe it around. I only actually use the first one letter in the middle and the letter at the end of each word, and it's called swipe to type, and it predicts the word for me. It's using it differently. We've all got the same device, but we're using it in different ways, and it's really important we let students have that option. And then down there I've got belonging as well. So it helps our students feel that they are valued and that they can participate alongside their peers. I am not the best person at being able to listen and do something else at the same time, but I know that if I've got subtitles on a screen or a transcript popping up, I'm a really quick skim reader. I can skim down things very, very quickly. So even though I might not have been quite tuned into what was being said, I can actually scan down it and I can pick out the odd keyword that allows me to work out what it was that was said. And it's just really, really useful. So think about our students that could use that as well. So when we do it really, really well, technology kind of it doesn't take back seat in the sense of it disappears. It disappears from being the forefront of everything and being this wonderful shiny new thing, but starts to become something that is a part of a student's normal learning journey, and their learning becomes more visible to us because we get to see what they can do rather than what they can't do. Our role within that, so you may not be in charge of the one of those budgets. You may not be in charge of the technological budget of your school, but you still have a role to play in kind of not dictating, but advising where that money needs to be spent. So we need to go beyond traditional sport. We're all very used to pen and paper type activities. We're very used to going in and physically doing things with students, but we really do need to embrace the digital side of things. So, find somebody who can become the digital inclusion champion. I bet you would have a TA chomping at the bit for this. I know you've probably got several TAs who are absolutely terrified of technology as well. I acknowledge that. But, somebody who wants a bit of extra responsibility, you need an excuse to pay them for a couple of extra hours a week so they don't disappear and go somewhere else because they're an amazing TA. Make them your digital inclusion champion. Or maybe there's a really good ECT in your school, or somebody who, again, who needs to move up that leadership spine, perhaps not leadership spine, TLR spine. Maybe we should give them a temporary TLR, that old-fashioned, is it TLR 3? I can never remember, which you can give for up to 2 terms. And it's a fixed amount of money to have a particular project put in place in school. We could get some staff doing that. That's if your school's got the budget for it. If not, usually it's a case of looking around for somebody who just wants to stretch their horizons. Maybe they're looking to leave at the end of the year and move to another role, but if they can put this on their CV, they stand out amongst everybody else. We need to evaluate the tools through an accessibility first lens. I work a lot with the EdTech sector. I kind of think I'm one of those go-to people now. So whenever somebody is developing an EdTech product, they're coming to me and they're going, will you have a look at this for me? And I am brutally honest with them. I will go, yeah, that ain't going to pass muster. That isn't going to work in a school. Or yeah, actually, I really like it, but... And I will tell them what I think they need to do to make it more accessible. And it is about accessibility first. There's no point as buying these shiny, bright new tools if students can't use them, or if it's not going to be robust enough to last beyond an academic year. And let's face it, we want things that are going to last a fair period of time because they're expensive. Really important, and part of our role is to upskill staff to confidently implement digital support. I know I am fairly technologically adept, but I know that when I go into school as a consultant, I meet a lot of SENCOs who are actually terrified of technology. They are quite happy with Outlook and Teams perhaps, but anything beyond that cannot get their head around it. When I say it is your responsibility to upskill the staff, I don't necessarily mean that means you have got to be the expert. What I mean is that you enable that training to take place, whether it is your TA again who becomes the expert in, I'm trying to think of a product off the top of my head, widget. Okay, so they become the expert in how you create a widget template board, and they are the one that then all the teachers can go to for that advice. So they are the person that is upskilling the staff, but you are enabling them to do it. So it doesn't have to be you, but you are, at the end of the day, responsible for ensuring that your students who are going to be using these things, or the staff that are using them to support those students, have got those digital skills. So, pull the training in. Either, quite a lot of those companies offer free training. Quite a lot of them offer webinars. Quite a lot of them offer some fantastic conferences that you can go to, and they will share their product, but then you also get some CPD alongside as well. So who can you send to those to become your champion of that product? And then making sure that technology is not just there to replace teaching, but to enhance teaching. And there was an article in The Guardian earlier this week, in fact it came out on the 1st, so Monday, where it was talking about basically gamification of technology, and that we shouldn't be using technology in classrooms. And I'm actually fundamentally against that, because you would take a wheelchair away from a student when it is the thing that they actually need to be able to access a building or a site or wherever it is they want to go. So why are we taking technology away from students who really need it to be able to access what they are learning? What we can't do is replace something else. So we're not going to use that technology to replace a teacher. We're not going to use it in place of the quality teaching that needs to happen first. It is there to enhance and support, but we're not going to take it away. A bit of a legal framework to that. So, a school that fails to consider digital inclusion might inadvertently, because you're not doing it deliberately, be failing in your legal duty to a pupil with SEND. That sounds quite blunt when you read it like that. But at the end of the day, if you haven't considered how you could use technology to support a student, then you're doing them a bit of a disservice. So we've got the Equalities Act 2010, been around for a while now, in fact 15 years, so I'm sure it will be updated at some point. Digital tools are increasingly being recognised as a reasonable adjustment. No longer can we say, oh, it's not reasonable to provide them with a laptop, because actually it is reasonable. They're fairly low priced. They are probably sitting on a shelf gathering dust somewhere. And I know lots of schools will say we don't have enough of them, but you can usually get them. You can get grants for them. And if you're not sure where to get grants from, go to Grants for Schools, approach local charities, approach local businesses. Many of the banks, whenever they're getting rid of computers, they will usually advertise very quietly where they're actually getting rid of them, and you can go and get a computer from a bank. They're not going to be the most modern thing, but at least they're going to be something that we can use. The software that goes onto them is a slightly different conversation, because of course that has to be updated and done whatever with. But usually we can do it. You can also contact the Digital Poverty Alliance. They will do 50-50 match funding. And there are other services as well. So there's at least 2 companies I can think of off the top of my head, whose names have completely slipped my head though, although I can think of them, I can picture them. They've lovely turquoise branding, both of them. But they will basically offer quite low-priced refurbished equipment to schools. And they specifically only sell to schools, so it's not just going out, or to parents of schools if you have that agreement with them. Anyway, the SEND Code of Practice, or the CAFA, which is the legal bit that sits behind it, it emphasises that we have to remove barriers to learning by providing appropriate support, and technology may well be that appropriate support for quite a few of our students. And then that one at the end there, reasonable adjustments, digital accessibility tools, such as your speech to text, text to speech, highlight, changing the background colour, they're often considered reasonable adjustments under law, and they may be required to ensure equal access to the curriculum. So we can't just sit there and kind of blank it out and go, yeah, I'm not doing that because we haven't got it. Actually, it's considered a reasonable adjustment. How does this link to our diet then? So delivering inclusive education toolkit. Our students need a balanced digital diet. Digital starvation compared to digital overload, or overeating, or stuffed. Digital starvation is where we're not giving them what they need, we're not removing the barriers, we're not enabling independent learning. So refusing text-to-speech for a dyslexic pupil, that's just going to put barriers in their place. It's going to make it really difficult for them to understand a complex text when normally, if it's read aloud to them, they can probably make sense of it. But unfortunately, if it's not read out loud to them, they really, really struggle. So why don't we just give them text to speech? Because we can't always afford the human to sit with them. And then digital overload is where we give a student too much. A pile on the right hand side, that wonderful cake that you can see, where we've got the tools but we've got no purpose. We're giving them confusion, we're overloading them cognitively, they probably don't know how to use them effectively. So that's the example where we're giving them multiple apps, lots of platforms, lots of different logins, different interfaces, different user interfaces, and it just overwhelms them rather than supporting their learning. It's why I really like tools that kind of take them through from primary into secondary and then possibly even into the workplace. They are very often the most useful tools, and sometimes it is the more simple things, not the complex things. So I'm guilty of this. We have a Microsoft account. We run our whole business across Microsoft. However, we also have a Google account, and I have something called Open Office, and I have something called Only Office. I also have Evernote, and I have Notion, not Motion. Motion's my other one. I have Notion, and when you put them all together, it's like, oh, I'm going to put this one in here, and I'm going to put this one in here, and I'm going to put this one in here, and I use something called Note Plan occasionally, and I'm going to put this one in here, and then when you get to the end of it, it's like, I don't know what is where and why I am doing that. And I end up stripping it all back to, it's going to go on my OneDrive. I actually use a Mac, so I actually use iCloud all of the time, but I have a piece of software that then links everything up. It goes into OneDrive, it copies it across to my iCloud. My iCloud copies it into a Gmail drive, just in case I'm in a school that won't let me access either of the other two. And then the Gmail drive copies it back across into the Outlook. So I've got this triangulation going on. My information's always available to me wherever I am, whatever device I am on, however I decide to log in, whether it's via a Microsoft interface, a Google interface, or the iCloud, and it just makes it easier. So I use Microsoft tools, I use Word, I use Excel, even though I have got access to all of those other ones, simply because it is too much overwhelm otherwise. And I'm a grown adult and I know how to use all of these things, but think of it as a student. When I go into those things, I know where it is to change text into columns on Excel. I know exactly where I need to go and click. Ask me to do it on a Google Sheet and I'll still be sitting there 30 minutes later. I will still be looking for that button. It's the same as I was messing about on our social media accounts last couple of days, and TikTok and Instagram were the two that I was looking at, and I wanted to add captions, closed captions at the bottom of the screen. On one of them, it is called closed captions. On another one of them, it is you actually have to click transcript, add a transcript, and then faff about with it and add text, which to me is text as a balloon that pops up out of my head. And then on another one, it's just called captions. So I've got CC, captions, and then I've got this convoluted random route to go through. Different interfaces make things difficult for even the most adept individual. So our students, we need to reduce their load. Okay, from low tech to high tech, we have a spectrum of support. So low tech, things like your visual timetables. Yeah, we're using the technology to create these things, is where the technology comes into this. Talking tins, that's technology. Coloured overlays, that's not using technology. Reading rulers, again, not using technology, but they're very often low cost. They're highly tactile. We're usually moving them, and we don't need much training for them. They're dead simple. They're really simple solutions. Your mid-tech solutions are your built-in accessibility features. So whether that's something that's built in to your mobile phone, or it's something that's built in on the laptop, speech to text, text to speech, screen magnifier, size of the font that you're looking at, whether your email's coming condensed like this or whether we're expanding them. You do the same on Excel as well, by the way. And again, this one's an interesting one because they're available on most devices. Doesn't matter what device you're using, and usually there's no additional cost to using them. So a screen magnifier, speech to text, text to speech, generally speaking, for the majority of us, for something simple, it is built in. We don't need to pay anything extra to it. Our higher tech solutions are the ones that we do have a price tag attached to them. So we've got specialized software, things like Clicker and Docs Plus. We've got our AI-powered scaffolds, and they are definitely becoming more and more useful. We can't avoid AI, so there's no point burying our head in the sand over it. We're going to have to get used to it. And then, of course, we've got our adaptive technologies that go with that as well. So we do need a higher investment there. We do need some degree of training for our staff and our students to be able to use it, but there is that potential for a really transformative impact for our students. And I think the important thing here is, I know there's so much fear about AI. It isn't going to go away. It's not going to go, oof, and disappear overnight. It is here to stay. And our students are going to be using it. We cannot disadvantage them by going, oh no, we're not going to use that because we're a bit scared of it and we don't understand it. We've got to get to grips with it. We've got to get used to using it and teaching them how to use it responsibly. And that's the key thing, how to use it responsibly, not just rely on it. So the bit up at the bottom there, the right tool depends on the learner, the task, and the context. That's why I said one size doesn't ever fit all. But not all solutions have to be high-tech to be effective. We've got those low-tech things down there. We've got the talking tins. We've got the widget visual timetables. We've also got our high-tech things, which might be more appropriate at a different point in time for a different student, for a different context, whatever. Those everyday tools that we've already got in devices then. So text-to-speech is built into most devices, mobile phones included. Most of them can read a text aloud for you. And it really does support our EAL pupils and our dyslexic pupils and any pupil with working memory difficulties. And let's face it, a few adults as well. Dictation. So voice typing is now about 95% accuracy. I remember back in the day, I was one of the people that had Dragon Type, if you can remember good old Dragon Type. It still exists, by the way. It's quite expensive now. But I had it one of the initial ones. I think probably even version 1, to be honest. And it hated my voice. I hate my voice, but it hated my voice. I was lucky if I could get 2 words in a sentence that it recognised correctly. It just did not recognise my voice at all. Now I can dictate into something, and I very often use Word to dictate into, and I use lots of AI transcription tools, and I very rarely have to go and correct things. Sometimes, word like SENCO, it'll type with a K. That's not a massive problem. Sometimes it will mishear something that I've said. So I can't remember which one it was I had a couple of years ago. I'm sure it was teacher. And it always put teach instead. Maybe I say teacher too fast. But, daft things like that. And because they're ones that always come up, they're really easy for me to spot as well. But it does remove the writing barriers for our students with dyslexia, dyspraxia, or our students with physical difficulties as well, or just those that are struggling to write. I just have days sometimes where I've got backache at the moment. I just can't face leaning over a keyboard and typing, but I'm quite happy to talk to it and just recording of that stream of consciousness on the page in front of me. Screen readers and magnifiers, again, generally built into devices. They're essential for visually impaired. Glasses on top of my head today, to be fair. But I'm talking more visually impaired than somebody who can correct it with a pair of glasses. But they are beneficial for others as well. So sometimes for dyslexic learners, it can be useful to use a screen reader or a magnifier, definitely a magnifier, to space things out just that little bit more. Because once we've got a bit of space on the screen, it sometimes makes it a bit easier to read. I have heard the opposite from some students. I have had some of them say, oh, we should squish it back together, because when there's a big gap, if you do it in double line spacing or triple line spacing, I find I lose where I've got to go when I get to the end of that line and I've got to go back to the beginning of the next one. Whereas if you squashed it up for me, I would find it easier. Each to their own, whatever works for you, whatever works for your student. Like I say, again, available on most major platforms, no extra cost to them, dead straightforward. They're already on most of your devices, but are your staff and pupils aware of them? More importantly, are they using them? Help of tea time. So, AI then, it's emerging. It's an emerging support tool, but it does exist. It's there. It's been there for quite a while. If you've been using Grammarly, you've been using AI for longer than you think. If you've been using PowerPoint to help you with timing your slides, again, you've been using AI for longer than you think, because it was built in. They just didn't announce it as being there. So what can we use it for? Well, we've got translation. We can have real-time translation for our EAL pupils, which is just absolutely invaluable, especially with the number of students we're getting coming through who are new to English and not necessarily understanding things. We are assuming at that point, though, that they can read in their own language, unless it also then does a speech feedback for them so that they can listen back to it. We can summarise things. I've just got through some documents that I need to read, and if I'm perfectly honest, I have not got the patience to sit and read them tonight, but I will throw them through my AI, and my AI is private, so it doesn't go anywhere else. I will throw it through AI later on tonight and get a summary, and then once I've got the summary, I actually know what I'm then looking for when I go to skim read through my document. And it's very rarely I actually read anything in depth these days, because I say I'm pretty fast and quick at skim reading things. So I just need the summary so that I've got the gist of what I'm looking for, and then I can go through and skim read that. So again, really useful way of doing it. For our students, though, it could just condense something that is quite heavy into the key points, or just simplified language. And then alternative formats. So we can convert something from text to a visual. I'm not a visual person, as you well know. Or we can convert it text to audio, or we could just change it to a different reading level. Now, AI can do those things for us. We used to have to sit and do it for ourselves. We can now do it within a couple of clicks of a button, and it takes 30 seconds rather than 3 hours, which then allows us to do other things. But it also allows students to do that for themselves as well. So AI can act as a bit of a digital teaching assistant. So it can give personalised scaffolding. And I've actually seen this used in a Year 6 class really, really well. So they had, I want to say the teacher had set them a history task to do, and it involved some questions. So they were given the questions. And there was a text that they were reading that went with those questions. So the text had already been uploaded onto their iPad. And the students had uploaded that text then into, I believe it was ChatGPT they were using. And what they did was they didn't put the question in that they were being asked. The teacher had said, you're not allowed to do that. But what they would do is paraphrase that question, or they would probe around that question. So let's say the question was, in what year did the Romans invade Britain? The students perhaps put into the AI tool that they were using, which I'm pretty sure was ChatGPT, they would put into it, the Romans came to Britain about 2,000 years ago. Can you give me an exact date? And then the AI kind of tutored them into, your text says it was in this year. I'm trying to remember what year it was. I'm going to say AD 44. Maybe BC 44. It gave them that bit, but then it actually went on to say, but I cannot give you an exact date because the Julian calendar, etc., was not used during the Roman times. And then he goes on to explain calendars to them. And it was actually really good. It was helping them develop that understanding. Again, I've used it with students who are struggling to make a start on things. So I'm like, okay, why don't you ask it some questions and then use that to create something of your own? And they've used that as a starting point for things. So I say that was a year 6 class. I was really impressed. Missed opportunities, untapped potential. I mean, that's basically what it is. That phrase there, we don't suffer from a lack of technology in school. Some of you might be going, yeah, we do. But usually the bigger problem we actually have is a lack of knowledge how to use it effectively. I'm not dismissing the fact that some of you may well have a lack of technology in your schools. Some of you may be thinking, I can't afford this. And I will always go back to some data that I crunched a couple of years ago for a large ed tech company. And we were looking at access arrangements for exams and basically how much it costs to put an adult in an exam to do reading and scribing for a student. And then we looked back at the price of their software and a laptop and to deliver training to the child so that they know how to use the software. And actually the laptop, the software, the 5 years, and the training on an ongoing basis for the student, and it demonstrated normal way of working because they're using it from year 7 onwards, was far cheaper than putting a TA in the exams just in year 11 alone. Bear in mind, if we're going to show it as normal way of working, we actually have to have evidence that reader and scribe was doing it all the way through year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 anyway, so that TA would have had to have been in the classroom doing it. So we're not just talking, let's give a nice ballpark figure. Let's say the TA costs the school £20,000 a year. That's £100,000 over 5 years. It is not £100,000 to provide a student with a laptop, the correct piece of software, and some training from somebody on how to use it effectively. So where is the money being spent, and could it be spent more effectively on using technology rather than using humans? I think it's really important to remember that students leave us at 16 or 18 and they go into a workplace. They are not going to be taking a one-to-one with them. We've got 2 interns at the moment, and we can tell that they are of the younger generation, not our generation, but we can tell that they are used to being told how to do things step by step by step by step by step, and having somebody check it step by step by step by step by step. And that is not the workplace. You know that. Nobody comes and checks on you step by step. They might check at the end of the term or the end of the day, or maybe not even that often. Maybe every 3 years when Ofsted come and stick their head through the door. But we're not being checked on every 5 minutes. And we really need to get our students out of that habit. And technology can help us do that. Missed opportunities there. So immersive reader in Microsoft 365, live captions in Google, Microsoft PowerPoint and in Google Slides, voice typing using Google Docs, Microsoft Word, accessibility checkers in your Office applications. You can change settings, so you can change the background. You'll notice I'm using a slightly off-white background for my slides just recently. I've settled on these 2 colours. They will stay the same throughout because they seem to work for everybody. Reading mode in web browsers. So I actually have one set up. I use Google Chrome, and I actually have an extension connected to Google Chrome, and it's free. And basically, anytime anything comes up that has got volume to it, whether it's a video, a music track, anything on any website that has got volume to it, I instantly get a little black box at the bottom of the screen with a transcript in it. Because as I said to you, I cannot listen and do something else at the same time. It comes up with that little transcript and I can scan through it. It's brilliant. Also, sometimes I forget to turn my volume on my laptop, probably because it crackles, and I can then just sit and read the text instead, which I'm quite happy doing because I play everything on 2 times speed. Anyway, I recommend playing me on 2 times speed. I sound like Mickey Mouse. Reading mode in web browsers, but also that one as well, putting that text transcript on, and then built-in screen readers on your iPads and your Chromebooks. You know, we've got them. Use them. Oh, there we go. Use the AI for staff workload as well. I said at the beginning, this isn't just about our students. We can use this for our staff as well. So you can use it to draft IEPs, whatever you want to call them, plans, passports, profiles, pieces of paper, IEPs, whatever you want to call it. Use it to draft those. A first draft, you don't have to put children's names in it. It saves you, well, it takes probably about 2-3 minutes with a good prompt to create something fairly decent that you've not got to tweak any further. If you sat and handwrote them out, and even handwriting, are we? If you sat and type one out, we're looking at probably 45 minutes per plan. So, and they are individualised to that student, because if you put a couple of bullet points in about that student, he's interested in tractors, he can concentrate for 5 minutes, it will really tailor it towards them. Creating differentiated resources. So, you know, we do talk about adaptive teaching, but there is still that need for some differentiated, different resources for some students. So again, we can use AI to do that. And you know, I remember doing it in the past, and you create one version and then you'd have to sit and tweak it and create another version, and you'd have to sit and tweak it again for another version. You know, high, middles and lows, whatever we're going to call them, or chili peppers, hot, medium and sweet. If you did it with AI, you could be saving up to 30 minutes per document that you're actually creating. Again, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. Why would you sit and recreate things when it can do it for you? And you can use that time for something else. Creating visual timetables and supports. So social stories, you can also use it, prompt it in there. Social stories are best done with the student. I've actually done this in a school with ChatGPT. So we were trying to write a social story about Christmas. And we sat down together and we put the bullet points in there, and then it came up with the text on the screen, and we said, actually, we don't like that bit. So we copied and pasted what it had given us and put it back in and told it which bits we didn't like, and we watched it rewrite it. And at the end of it, we'd got a social story that the student accepted and was able to follow. So social stories, it really bugs me when people say, has anybody got a bank of social stories? Social stories should be written with the child. But that doesn't mean we have literally got to sit and write. We can use the technology to support us. You can also use your symbol support in there. And sometimes, you know, we've got students who don't necessarily engage with symbols. They don't necessarily engage with text, but they might engage with an image. So using AI image generation in there as well. Again, we're saving, let's say, 20 minutes per resource. I only did one of those from those 3 categories each day. I've saved over an hour and a half. Okay, an hour and 35 minutes, but I've saved an hour and a half of my time. That's amazing. What can I use that for instead? Probably some marking, but you know. There's that personalised learning support though. So personalised scaffolding. So for older pupils, we might be getting to put something in. It helps them. It fades back for them as their mastery increases, because they're not having to ask it quite so much. It's quite a natural process. I said I work for a university, and we actually have AI built into one of their tools that they're using. So when they want to find out whether their assignment piece is any good or whether they've answered the question correctly, they feed it through this AI system, which has got the rubric built into it, the mark scheme, and it will give them feedback. Or if they don't understand something, so they're currently learning about different educational theories, they can go into there and say, oh, I don't really understand cognitive load theory. Can you give me a breakdown of this? And it will give them a breakdown based on the information we've given it. So it's not going wide field, if you like. But then they can also get it to quiz them. So they can say, oh, ask me 5 questions about cognitive load theory, and it will ask them, and then it will not quite grade their answers, but they can give an answer. I recommend bullet point format, and it will tell them whether they're on the right tracks, whether they've understood it, and then it will give them more questions to go with it. So really nice, simple way of using AI to support. The nice thing about it is it's instant feedback, and it's not necessarily coming from a human. Sometimes students react really negatively to negative feedback from an adult, even if that negative feedback is justified. So they've just handed you a piece of work. They were supposed to be writing about the water cycle, but they've written about the nitrogen cycle, and you've pointed this out to them. Oh, it's a brilliant piece of work, well done. However, I asked you to write about the nitrogen cycle, not the water cycle. And it's, whereas actually, if they put it through the AI, and the AI comes back to them with, yeah, this is a really good piece of work. You have written about the water cycle. Let's see if we can turn this into a piece of work about the nitrogen cycle as per what the question asked. And for some reason, because it's coming from the computer, which reminds me of the advert, the computer says no, because it's coming from the computer, they just don't take it quite so personally. They don't throw that fit and throw everything across the room. They also haven't got to wait for you to be available or the teacher to be available to give them that feedback. What else have we got on there? Alternative pathways as well, adaptive pathways. It is actually part of your adaptive teaching, to be honest. So I can deliver something to a whole class, but the group that's struggling with something, they can pop it through the AI. It can give them some scaffolded support with it, so they can break it down. Let's break down this maths question together. And I quite openly admit, when I did my masters, my psychology masters, I didn't understand some of the statistics we were being asked to do. Believe it or not, I have an A-level in statistics and I still couldn't understand it. I think it was an ANOVA we were doing at the time, if anybody is a mathematician. But I put the information into ChatGPT and I said, I don't understand what I am doing here. Can you help me to understand this? And I told it what I was trying to get out of it. And what it did was it broke it down step by step for me. And it got me to do the steps and then to put in my answer and my working. And then it would give me feedback on that and tell me if I'd made a mistake and ask me if I wanted to have another go, or would I just like the answer? Sometimes I just said, just give me the answer, please. And I kept on going until I could understand it by the time I got to the end of it. Yeah, okay, that's me doing a master's level course, but I could see that very easily being used in A-levels and probably at GCSE level for quite a few of our more capable students who are just struggling to get something. They're just, need that bit of thing. And our anxious students as well. Am I doing this right? It could really support them. Okay, halfway through and 20 minutes left. Okay, I can do this. Real world applications, like I said, social stories there, help them to prepare for new routines, new changes in structure, anything like that. Symbol support, alternative text. They don't just make the content accessible, they make it meaningful. And that's what's important. But these things need, personally, I believe, to be done alongside the child, not done for them, but done with them. And that's the important thing, because I say those social stories, they were never designed, never intended to be written in isolation and just given. They are intended to be written as a social interaction story. You are interacting with the child to agree on what happens. The limitations and the pitfalls. Let's have a reality check. So AI can be inaccurate. It can be plausible sounding. I very often ask mine when it's given me an answer, are you sure you haven't just hallucinated that? Or are you on the magic mushrooms again? And it laughs at me. Yes, I have a relationship with my AI. She's called Chippy. It can give you bias. So sometimes if you're not careful, it will start to reflect things the way it thinks you want it to. So it reminds me of social conformity, where people will behave in a certain way because they believe that's the social norm and what we're expected to do. And sometimes you can get stuck in a chat with AI and it will start to behave the way it thinks you want it to. You very often have to go back to it at that point and challenge it with, give me the opposite viewpoint, or I think you're agreeing with me too much, disagree with me. Challenge it back, have a conversation with it. It is supposed to be conversational, let's just put it that way. And sometimes it can lack the nuance, so it does struggle with emotional context. It's not great on neurodiverse communication pathways. That said, sometimes that's actually quite useful for our neurodiverse students themselves, because it is quite black and white in its thinking. It doesn't deviate from that unless you prompt it with it. But it can miss signals. So that's why it is there. It augments our human teaching. It doesn't replace it. It can never replace a human, but it can support us in our workload, in the stress of our students, and the various bits and pieces going on. Okay. Don't forget to use the chat box if you want to ask any questions, because I will come to them at the end if I have a couple of minutes left. So the checklist mindset, 4 questions to ask yourself. Is this really going to solve a problem or a real problem for our pupils? Or is it a made-up problem? Avoid using tech for tech's sake, because there's no point there. Is it genuinely accessible to all users? There would be no point me giving my 8-year-old son a ChatGPT account. Not that you could give him a ChatGPT account, but there would no point giving him access to it and saying, here you go, use this to learn about the Egyptians, which is his current history topic. There'd be no point, because he just wouldn't know what to do with it. So we've got to give them the right level of access and teach them how to use it. How secure is pupil data? That's important. It's for your data protection officer to sort out, your DPO, but you need to be aware of it as well. So especially if you're using a tool that school perhaps hasn't purchased for you, so the public version of ChatGPT, or even if you've purchased your own private account for ChatGPT, I would be really, really careful about what you're putting into those systems. And even systems that claim to not utilize your data outside, or your data is only used within your school system, I would still keep hold of some information, not put everything in there. So definitely no dates of birth, definitely no UPN numbers, first name. There's hundreds of Abigails in the country, if not thousands. They're not going to be able to work out which Abigail I'm going on about. Don't put your school name into it. Then they're not even going to know which school to look for Abigail in. So, really key. So I personally don't feel there's this need to go to anonymize it, change it to child X, and then go through it and do find search or find and replace to replace all of that, because at the end of the day, it's a bit overboard. There aren't that many students, unless they've got a totally unusual name. Our youngest son is called Lysander. I probably wouldn't put his name into it, but I might put a nickname in there for him. And then what training will your staff need to be able to use things effectively? And always factor in those training costs when you're looking at the cost effectiveness of things. Got overdependence, so when technology becomes a bit of a crutch for people. So just as I said earlier that we've noticed that teaching assistants can become a bit of a crutch for some students, and as soon as they come out of that, they can't cope because they actually don't have that additional adult to do things for them. We're actually noticing now the same thing with the technology. So technology should be a scaffold. It's there to support us. It's there to make our lives easier, develop our independence, enable our learning, but it shouldn't be there to stop us from doing things. So again, to give you an example, and I will use our interns again, we have noticed, so that they're both recent graduates, but we have noticed that they use technology a lot. Most modern devices, but they were asked to do something and their instant response is to go to ChatGPT and go and ask ChatGPT how to do it. Or their instant response is to go to Google and to type it into Google and find the thing. I mean, Google was, I mean, I've got older children. Google was the one that was certainly a few years ago was the biggest bane of my life because people never scroll past page 1. I go to page 5 if I want to find something, but they never go past page 1. You can always find out somebody who's just Googled it very quickly and they actually haven't done their research properly. But we are finding now, so previously we had a reliance on adults. So we talked about that learned helplessness from the maximising impact of teaching assistants research that was done. I can't even remember what year it was now. I think we've actually got an issue at the moment with technology being our learned helplessness. They've learned to not do certain things because the technology will do it for them. And that's a bit of a worry. What happens when the technology isn't available? My internet's notorious for going down, so I very often don't have my internet, but I can still read. I've still got other tools I can use to support me. What happens when you see their areas of learning, certain areas fall back, decline, because that technology isn't there with them? So things that they should be able to do, they stop being able to do because they've started to rely on the technology to do it for them. I think call that independent thinking. A resistance to do anything beyond the tools. So it's just like the resistance to do anything without the TA helping them or sitting at the side of them. We need to be careful that we don't make them overly reliant on those digital tools. And an inability to transfer their learning to a non-digital context. Because at the end of the day, even if we are using technology to support us, we've always got our phones with us, we've got the speech to text, text to speech on our laptops, etc. When you go into a GP surgery, and they give you the clipboard and they ask you to fill the form in and they hand you a pen, you are still going to have to write. And there is no way around that because there are certain things in life that are still going to require what we now look at as being archaic skills, but we are still going to have to do some of those things. So I know that some of them now give you an iPad and get you to swipe on the iPad to fill things in. That's what my dentist did to me. That reminds me, I must phone the dentist back. But it's not commonplace, and it's expensive. And certainly in the next 25 years, I can't see us getting rid of the good old big biro. Let's put it that way. So we want learned independence with technology as one of our tools. Just that note there about safeguarding data, so protecting our pupils. Make sure you check your pupil inputs and outputs, so privacy concerns there. GDPR compliance, so where is the data processed and stored? I'm actually really careful. Any tool that I use has to have a UK processing, a data centre and storage centre, and we do the same with most of the companies that we work with. It's one of the very first questions I ask: where is your data centre situated? Especially as we're getting approached by international companies. In fact, we had an international company that we're working with who didn't have a UK or Europe-based server centre, and they've actually purchased one so that they can work with us, which I thought was great. Student safety as well there. So has the tool been tested with safeguarding it in mind? So, most platforms, again, I'm going to use ChatGPT because everybody knows this one. But if I use that one as the example, if you start putting in there something about self-harm ideation or suicidal thoughts or anything like that, and I'm going to get struck from YouTube for saying that word, but if you self-unaliving, there you go. If you put anything like that into there, it will automatically give you those kind of responses that say, I am not a therapist, I am not able to advise on this, you should be contacting XYZ, I do not feel that I'm in the right place to do this. And that might feel a bit dismissive, but actually it's the right thing, it's the ethical side of it. But some AI platforms are being built to mitigate that and go round it and go, actually, we do want students to express their well-being difficulties, and they could do it via this platform, and that's absolutely wonderful and great. who is going to get informed that that child has just said those things? And is it safe? And if we've got a student who's asking it to generate inappropriate images or uploads an inappropriate image to have it modified in some way, how are we picking up on that, especially if they are of the neurodiverse sector? Is how I'm going to phrase that one. I'm actually thinking of a particular American case in my head at the moment, which is not appropriate for me to discuss on here. So that came out completely wrong. What I'm saying though is consult your DPO to make sure that things are going to be safe for use with your students. Digital poverty then, we do have a bit of an access gap here. The reality is that we've got over 1 million households, or nearly 2 million households, have no internet access. I live in a fairly poverty-driven area, a small mining village. About 41% of the local population is out of work. Only, I think it's 11% of the local area has a degree, whereas the national average is, I think, 21%, 23%. If I think about our own street and I kind of scan my head up and down it, we've got lots of older families down here. They don't have internet access. Even the ones that have got children, of the 4 that are down this street, I would say 2 of them do not have internet access. We're on the, it sounds really awful to say it, we're probably on the richer end of the estate, not the estate, richer end of the village, if you like. We've got more than 1 million children that lack adequate devices for learning. So it's all well and good saying to parents, oh, log into this platform so that you can see your child's homework. If the parent doesn't have a data package that they can log into to be able to see that, or they don't have a smartphone, and some parents on Universal Credit don't have smartphones, then it actually becomes a bit impossible. Or we've only got a smartphone and that's the only thing with the data package, and it's then being used to hotspot to or other devices, so we can provide them with a laptop and they're then having to hotspot to the parent's mobile phone, but it's using it the parent's data package. Not everybody is on an unlimited package, which personally I find it quite baffling, because I can't imagine having a data cap on me anymore, because I've had an unlimited package for so long. But it's I know that we would use ours up, and I know that we did, because 9 years ago when we moved house, we moved in and I had got a cap on it at that point because I'd cancelled it from the previous house and I was using what was on my mobile phone before we set up the internet in the house. And we'd used it within about 3 days. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was like, oh gosh, yeah, okay, let me buy a top-up package, and then we'd use that within 5 days. So being aware as well that many families share a single device amongst multiple users. So we can't have every child being sent home. Some families are quite big families and they've got 4 children of an age where they're being asked to do a piece of homework on the computer. And who gets to go and do it first? Is it the one that's doing their GCSEs, where actually it's probably more important that they go and do it, but they're the older ones, so technically they could do it later in the evening? Or is it the younger ones who need to access it to do a bit of research or whatever it is they're doing? So just being aware of that too. How can we do it? How can we support? Check, ask. What is your access for digital technology at home? Do you have your own device? If you can you set up a digital lending library or device lending library within your school? I know that the government put some money into that in 2023. So there's 4,000 schools that benefited from, I think it was 180,000 devices that they put into lending libraries. So can you access any of those? Are there any offline alternatives? So yes, I am talking about digital inclusion here, but is there an offline alternative that some students may well be better off using? And let's face it, not every student likes using technology. So if you have got a student who's absolutely averse to it, and there will be some, can we give it them in a different format? And then can we connect families with local digital access schemes? They do exist, they're few and far between, and I don't know them for all of your local authorities, but you may be able to find that information. We also have a staff confidence gap. So we talked about the digital poverty gap, but we've got a staff confidence gap. So we've got a bit of an implementation challenge. Has been research done. These are real numbers for once. So 64% of teachers express a tech concern, as in they feel that they lack the confidence in using it effectively. I think you'll find that number is higher in primary than it is in secondary. 85% of inbuilt accessibility features go unused in schools, which is a massive figure. Massive. So that means we're only using 15% of the accessibility features that are actually available to us on an individual device, which is quite ridiculous. It's just lack of awareness, though. And then we've got that one on the right-hand side. The research that was done, it's a 3 times impact multiplier. So there's a greater impact when staff receive hands-on training versus just giving the guidance online. And that includes watching a video. So I know you're watching me today. Thanks. But it's actually the hands-on training where you get somebody to stand up in front of you, say something, do something, say something, do something. Online training is great. It's amazing. It's wonderful. I will never take away from that because you can access it in your own time. You can do what you want with it. But let's face it, we're all sat there having a cup of tea, possibly thinking about what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And did I get the washing in before it started raining? No. Anyway, my quote, the best digital inclusion tools are worthless if staff don't know how to implement them or how to support the students that are using them. I've hit 5 o'clock and I've still got slides to go, so I'm going to rattle through. You know, I'm good at this. So audit what's there, take stock of what's there. So a technology audit might be inventory of all the digital devices and software licenses especially. Write down the expiry date as well so you don't get hit with any renewal fees that you're not expecting. Document any built-in accessibility features. So if you've got Chromebooks, you're going to have different accessibility features to if you've got MacBooks, and if you've got iPads, or if you've got Windows computers, or if you've got something else. Survey your staff on the awareness and usage patterns. So who is using what and when and where and why? That's really useful. And then identify the gaps between availability and utilisation, because then you might actually find nothing is used period 1 on a Monday morning. Okay, let's get them rolled out. Let's get them used period 1 on a Monday morning, even if it means shipping them down to the other end of the school. Build your staff CPD confidence, so that's your CPD approach. So micro training, 5-minute showcase in a staff meeting, drip fed training's amazing. Digital champions, can we get some staff trained in each department, TAs even? Co-teaching models, so can you go in and support and show how to use it? I have put SENCO there, but it doesn't have to be you. And pupil tech leaders. Students, especially the older ones, are actually really good at teaching staff how to use things. I know that my personal use of Clicker, I was actually taught how to use it by a student originally. So they'd used it in their primary school and I was trying to implement it in a secondary school, and I had a student come along and go, "Oh, you've got Clicker, miss, great, can I have a go?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." "Oh, how did you get it to do that?" And they gave me a lesson on it. Students are great. Bite-sized, immediately applicable is the best CPD you can give. Give your students a digital passport, so it's their personalised toolkit. So I'm not asking you to create another piece of paper, but sometimes if we know that they really, really need technology, but the staff are a bit resistant against it, if we can produce them their own little personalised passport to technology, it can actually help. So what, it might just be their own little, what do I call them? Key. Oh, for goodness sake. Keychain. I still can't get the words out. Little labels that you stick on a keychain. Let's go with that. So it might just be one of those that's laminated that you give to the student with their preferred accessibility settings, what tools they use, what their login credentials are. Don't actually put their password on that and their login credentials. Give it in some kind of hidden format. What they feel works best for them, and maybe they need a visual guide on how to make things work for them. You can get keyboard overlays for various things. You can even get stickers that stick on the bottom corner of a laptop that tell them the shortcuts that they can use. So they can actually support your students really, really well. From add-on to everyday integration, that's what we want. So at the moment, lots of digital tools are add-on. They're kind of last-minute thought, "Oh, we could use that for that." as opposed to being integrated into what we're doing. So we've got the special event approach where we only use it for special activities or assessments or exams. It's not a normal way of working. And the problem with that is our students then lack fluency and they lack confidence when they need to use it the most. We've got planned integration, which is where it's embedded into our teaching and our lesson planning. And that means they become familiar with things and we become familiar with where things might go wrong as well. And then we've got that invisible support where it's so embedded that it's not at the front of our brains. It's kind of not special or different. It's just there. It's a part of learning. And that real benefit there is don't have a stigma attached to it. You're the kid with the laptop. And we've got that increased independence as well. Co-production with parents is also important. So that homeschool alignment, no point us teaching them how to use it in school if they're going to do something different at home. And I'm not saying that that means if they use Mac at home, they've got to use Mac in school. You know, there's got to be some kind of degree of sense about this. It is reasonable adjustments, not completely impossible adjustments. So what you're looking at there is maybe you need to do something with parents and carers, not you, somebody in your school needs to do something with parents and carers, share a video tutorial, handouts for your parents. I've done some actually within the September diet. So if you are a school member or a individual member, you can go and access that information. I've actually done a handout for you on how you can share this information with parents. Get the parents to input into the digital passport, and then regular updates on new things that are being introduced. Quite a lot of your licenses that you buy allow for home access as well as school access. And you might actually find some of your less literate parents may well start to develop their own skills as well, because you're enabling your parents as well as enabling the students at the same time. Foot breadth and balance there, so technology and context. So we've got the digital solutions, the environmental adaptations, the teaching approaches, and the relational support. What are we using it for? So, you know, is it a solution to a problem? Is it adapting the environment for us somehow? Is it a teaching approach that we're actually using, or is it giving us some way of relating and supporting our students? So some form of mentoring or coaching or scaffolding or emotional regulation or whatever else it is we're using. And technology is a part of all of those things, but it isn't the whole of any one of those things. It has to sit alongside them. It's like fingers coming into that image that you've got on the screen there and embedding and meshing into all of them. I've put AI is the spice here, not the meal. You've got to find a balance, and my quote is, like spices in cooking, AI tools should enhance the educational experience, not overpower it. So effective use is when it's targeted, it's when it's careful selection of an appropriate tool, it's thoughtful integration alongside human teaching, and then it's continuous evaluation of the impact. You know, it's like anything that we do, you have to continually evaluate it. AI as a meal is when it becomes a problem, because that means we're becoming over-reliant on it. We're replacing human connection, which is a problem. It is uncritical acceptance of an AI output. AI said it, so it must be right. And one-size-fits-all implementation. Quick wins for September. Where do you start? Well, you audit your current accessibility. What have you got? It takes you about 2 hours, maybe. So have a look at what accessibility features you've got and which ones are underutilised. Trial a new AI tool with the staff if possible. So 1 hour to test it and then a bit of ongoing evaluation. Select something. Select something that will support yourself. My recommendation, because then you'll be more likely to actually do it. So whether you're teaching and you want to do differentiation, or whether you want something to support you with writing plans, passports, profiles, whatever you want to call them, and then deliver some focus. I've got the hiccups. Some focus CPD. So 15 minutes, 1 hour to prep it, 15 minutes to deliver it, whatever. Start small, measure the impact, build on success. And then my final message on this is we are the digital chefs of the school for this particular analogy, hence the little hat on the left-hand side there. We're going to select, blend and serve the tools that best enable our students to succeed. So select your ingredients carefully, so select the tools carefully, balance the flavours, combine that digital with the other approaches, adapt your recipes, that personalised support for individual tastes, and then do the taste test. Continually evaluate whether it is working. And if you get the recipe right, every pupil gets to feast at our table of learning. I have two slides to finish this off, one slide to finish this off with, which is to tell you about our other events this month. So the two on the left-hand side with the turquoise text are our two further webinars this month, which you can only access if you are a school member or a individual member. So we have AI in the SENCO, friend, foe, or frustration. By the end of that session, I think I will be very flustered rather than frustrated. Okay, so we'll have a look at that one. That's on the 11th of September, which is next week. We have got digital tools or digital fools, which again is looking at the use of digital tools. 23rd of September, because I'm not here on the 18th, and on the 24th, which is the Thursday we normally do this, we actually have a session with Thomas from Geldard Solicitors, who is going to do a deep dive into SEN law for us. Hopefully it will not have changed by that point, and he can still talk about the old law. And if you want to hear about the new law, we're also hoping that that might have changed before the 9th of October, and he can revamp his presentation for our legal conference, which is on the 9th of October at KX in London. If you haven't booked your tickets, we don't have very many left. So get along to the website and get yourself booked onto that. That one's on the 24th of September, hence I'm doing mine on the 23rd. And then we have got two SENCO meetups. We have one on the 17th of September in Windsor, and we have one on the 18th of September in Maidstone. So if you are near either of those two areas and would like to join us, hop along to the website and click on the link to find out more information. And if we don't have an event that is near you, then you need to book me to come and do something near you so that we can run a SENCO meetup near you. That's how it works, I'm afraid. So if there is nobody that books me in North Tyneside, I won't be going to North Tyneside. I don't know why I chose North Tyneside, it just came into my head. But we are around the country this year, definitely around the country, from north to south and east to west. So definitely get something booked in there. Please do drop any questions if you have them in the chat. I'm going to turn my presentation off and put me back on the screen, which is definitely scary. Like I say, looking forward to the SENCO Diet. We've got lots and lots coming out for you this year. I have overrun, as usual, by about 10 minutes, but nothing new there. I will get back into the flow of things, I am sure. And I can't see any questions, so I am going to say, have a great evening. Look out for me on any of those wonderful social media platforms, so Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, Shorts, whatever they're called, and YouTube Shorts, because I am posting a video every single day for the 365 days starting from the 1st of September. I might be slightly insane, and I may well work out how to do subtitles on all of them by the time we get to the end of the year. But they are really short. They're only about a minute long each, and we've got Monday Myths, Tuesday Teaching Tips, Wednesday SENCO Life, Thursday is Toolkit, Friday is Policy and Law, Saturday is Send Success Stories, and Sunday is Consultant Corner. So you get to hear some rather wonderful stories from my past. Maybe you don't want to hear them. Or maybe you get to hear some great tips and tricks for success in your school. But do look out for them. Come and follow me and see what I am up to. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.